The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel isn't just another finance book filled with charts and investment strategies. This groundbreaking work dives deep into the human psyche to reveal why smart people make terrible financial decisions and how our emotions, not our intelligence, drive most of our money choices. Housel, a former Wall Street Journal columnist and current partner at Collaborative Fund, presents 20 timeless lessons that challenge everything we think we know about wealth building. What makes this book revolutionary is its focus on behaviour rather than mathematics. While most financial advice assumes people are rational actors who make logical decisions, Housel understands that money is deeply personal and emotional. He explores how our upbringing, experiences and psychological biases shape our financial destiny far more than any spreadsheet ever could. Through captivating stories and real-world examples, he demonstrates that financial success isn't about being the smartest person in the room or having access to secret investment formulas. The book reveals uncomfortable truths about wealth, showing how luck plays a massive role in financial outcomes, why compound interest is both humanity's greatest invention and most misunderstood concept, and how our inability to delay gratification destroys more financial dreams than any market crash. Housel argues that doing well with money has little to do with intelligence and everything to do with behaviour. He shows readers that financial peace isn't about accumulating the most wealth, but about sleeping well at night, knowing you've made smart decisions aligned with your values and goals. This isn't a get-rich-quick scheme or a technical manual about portfolio optimization. Instead, it's a profound exploration of human nature that will fundamentally change how you think about money, success, and what it truly means to be wealthy. The insights within these pages apply whether you're just starting your financial journey or you're already well established in your career. The Psychology of Money takes readers on a fascinating journey through the intersection of psychology and personal finance. Housel begins by establishing that financial decisions are rarely made in a vacuum, but are heavily influenced by our personal experiences, cultural background, and emotional state. He argues that what seems like obvious financial wisdom to one person might appear completely irrational to another, simply because they've lived through different experiences. The book's central thesis revolves around the idea that soft skills matter more than technical knowledge when it comes to money. Housel demonstrates through compelling examples how someone with average intelligence but excellent behavioural control will outperform a genius who lacks emotional discipline. He illustrates this concept by comparing different investors and their outcomes, showing how personality traits like patience, humility, and adaptability often matter more than analytical prowess or market knowledge. Throughout the narrative, Housel weaves together stories from various fields, including business, history, and psychology, to create a comprehensive picture of human financial behaviour. He examines how our relationship with money is shaped by factors beyond our control, such as when and where we were born, our family's financial situation during our formative years, and major economic events that occurred during our lifetime. The author also explores the concept of enough, arguing that many financial problems stem from not having a clear definition of what constitutes sufficient wealth. He shows how the goalpost of financial success constantly moves, leading people to take unnecessary risks or work themselves to exhaustion chasing an ever-elusive target. This section reveals how some of the wealthiest individuals in history destroyed their fortunes by not knowing when to stop taking risks. Housel dedicates significant attention to the role of time in wealth building, explaining how compound interest works not just mathematically, but psychologically. He demonstrates why most people struggle to harness the power of compounding, revealing that it's not a lack of understanding, but rather an inability to be patient and consistent over long periods. The book concludes by examining how money intersects with happiness and meaning, challenging readers to consider what they truly want from their financial lives. Rather than prescribing specific investment strategies, Housel focuses on helping readers develop the right mindset and emotional framework for making sound financial decisions throughout their lives. When we examine the core concepts presented in The Psychology of Money, several transformative ideas emerge that challenge conventional financial wisdom. The first major revelation centers on the powerful role of luck versus skill in financial outcomes. Housel demonstrates through historical examples and statistical analysis that luck plays a far greater role in financial success than most people want to admit. He shows how even the most successful investors and entrepreneurs benefited from favourable timing, fortunate circumstances, and random events beyond their control. This doesn't diminish their achievements, but rather helps us understand that replicating someone else's exact strategy might not yield the same results because we can't replicate their luck. The second crucial insight involves understanding the difference between being rich and being wealthy. Housel explains that being rich means having a high income, while being wealthy means having accumulated assets that provide financial security and freedom. He illustrates how many high-income earners remain financially vulnerable because they spend everything they make, while others with modest incomes build substantial wealth through consistent saving and investing. This distinction fundamentally changes how we measure financial success and guides better decision-making about spending and saving. The third major concept explores how our personal experiences shape our financial worldview. Housel argues that our money beliefs are largely formed by what happened to the economy during our formative years. Someone who lived through the Great Depression will have vastly different attitudes towards saving and risk than someone who grew up during a period of economic prosperity. This insight helps explain why financial advice that works for one generation might not resonate with another, and why understanding your own biases is crucial for making sound financial decisions. The fourth key idea examines the psychology of time and compound interest. While most people intellectually understand that compound interest is powerful, Housel reveals why we struggle to harness it effectively. He explains how our brains are wired for immediate gratification and have difficulty visualizing long-term consequences. Through compelling examples, he shows how small, consistent actions over long periods can produce extraordinary results, while dramatic short-term actions often lead to disappointing outcomes. The fifth major concept addresses the importance of room for error in financial planning. Housel demonstrates how the most successful investors and savers always assume they might be wrong about their predictions and plan accordingly. He shows how building redundancy into your financial life through emergency funds, conservative assumptions, and diversification can protect you from both known risks and unforeseen circumstances. This approach might seem overly cautious, but it's what allows people to stay in the game long enough to benefit from compound growth. The sixth crucial insight explores how social comparison destroys financial well-being. Housel reveals how keeping up with others' spending habits or investment returns can lead to poor financial decisions. He demonstrates how social media and modern culture amplify these comparison tendencies, making it harder than ever to focus on your own financial goals. The antidote involves defining your own version of success and measuring progress against your personal objectives rather than others' achievements. The seventh major concept examines the relationship between money and happiness. Housel argues that money's primary value lies in providing autonomy and control over your time, not in purchasing luxury items or status symbols. He shows how the wealthiest individuals often live relatively modest lifestyles while focusing on maximizing their freedom and flexibility. This perspective shifts the focus from accumulating stuff to accumulating options and security. The eighth key insight addresses the importance of adapting to change while maintaining consistent core principles. Housel demonstrates how successful investors and savers adjust their tactics based on changing circumstances while maintaining unwavering commitment to fundamental principles like saving regularly and thinking long-term. He shows how this balance between flexibility and consistency allows people to navigate different economic environments while staying on track toward their financial goals. The lessons readers can extract from the psychology of money extend far beyond traditional financial advice and into the realm of life philosophy. The first major takeaway emphasizes that your personal financial strategy should align with your unique circumstances, goals, and temperament rather than copying someone else's approach. What works for a young entrepreneur might be completely inappropriate for a retiree, and what makes sense for someone with a stable income might be disastrous for someone with irregular earnings. This personalization requires honest self-assessment and the courage to ignore popular trends that don't fit your situation. The second crucial lesson involves embracing the power of boring financial habits. Housel demonstrates that spectacular returns often come from spectacularly boring strategies like consistent saving, broad diversification, and patient long-term thinking. The most successful investors rarely make headlines because they're not doing anything dramatic or newsworthy. They're simply sticking to proven principles over long periods, which compounds into extraordinary results. This insight liberates readers from the pressure to find the next hot investment or revolutionary strategy. The third key takeaway addresses the importance of emotional regulation in financial decision-making. Market volatility, economic uncertainty, and personal financial setbacks can trigger powerful emotional responses that lead to poor choices. Learning to recognize these emotional triggers and developing strategies to manage them can prevent costly mistakes. This might involve automating investments to remove emotion from the equation, seeking advice from trusted advisors during stressful times, or simply taking a step back before making major financial decisions. The fourth essential lesson explores the concept of financial flexibility and how it provides more value than optimization. While it might be mathematically optimal to invest every spare dollar, maintaining some cash reserves and avoiding excessive debt provides psychological comfort and practical flexibility. This approach might cost some returns in the short term, but can prevent catastrophic losses and provide opportunities to take advantage of unexpected situations. The fifth major takeaway emphasizes the importance of defining your own version of enough. Without a clear endpoint or definition of financial success, people often fall into the trap of moving goalposts and taking unnecessary risks. Housel shows how some of the wealthiest individuals in history destroyed their fortunes by not knowing when they had enough. Setting clear financial goals and regularly reassessing them can prevent this destructive pattern. The sixth crucial insight involves understanding the difference between reasonable and rational financial behaviour. While economists often assume people make perfectly rational decisions, Housel argues that reasonable behaviour often serves us better than purely rational behaviour. Sometimes it's reasonable to keep some money in low-yield savings accounts for peace of mind, even if it's not mathematically optimal. This perspective validates intuitive financial choices that might not make sense on a spreadsheet but provide emotional comfort. The seventh key lesson addresses the importance of controlling your time and maintaining autonomy. Housel demonstrates that money's greatest value lies in providing freedom and control over how you spend your time. This might mean choosing a lower-paying job with better work-life balance, building an emergency fund that allows you to take risks, or structuring your finances to support your preferred lifestyle rather than maximise returns. The eighth essential takeaway explores how to think about risk and uncertainty in financial planning. Rather than trying to predict the future or avoid all risks, successful financial planning involves preparing for a range of possible outcomes. This includes building emergency funds, diversifying investments, and avoiding excessive debt that could force poor decisions during difficult times. The ninth major lesson involves understanding the role of storytelling in financial markets and personal finance. Housel shows how compelling narratives often drive financial decisions more than cold facts and figures. Learning to recognize when you're being influenced by stories rather than data can improve your financial decision-making. This also applies to the stories we tell ourselves about money and success. The 10th crucial insight addresses the importance of patience and long-term thinking in a culture that rewards immediate results. Building wealth requires sustained effort over decades, not months or years. Developing the patience to stick with proven strategies, even when they seem to be underperforming in the short term, separates successful investors from those who constantly chase the latest trends. The psychology of money stands as a remarkable achievement in financial literature because it addresses the fundamental human elements that drive financial success or failure. Housel's insights transcend typical investment advice by focusing on the psychological and behavioural aspects that determine long-term financial outcomes. His work demonstrates that financial success is not reserved for the intellectually gifted or those with access to insider information, but rather for those who understand themselves and can manage their emotions effectively. The book's lasting impact lies in its ability to reframe how we think about money and wealth. By emphasizing behavior over intelligence, patience over cleverness, and personal alignment over universal strategies, Housel provides a more accessible and sustainable path to financial well-being. His insights help readers understand that financial peace comes not from accumulating the most wealth, but from making decisions that align with their values and goals. Perhaps most importantly, the psychology of money reminds us that financial decisions are deeply personal and should be treated as such. What constitutes financial success varies dramatically from person to person, and the strategies that work for one individual might be completely inappropriate for another. This personalisation requires ongoing self-reflection and the courage to ignore popular trends that don't serve your specific situation. The book's enduring value lies in its timeless principles that apply regardless of market conditions or economic circumstances. While investment strategies and financial products will continue to evolve, the psychological principles governing human behaviour remain constant. Understanding these principles provides a stable foundation for making sound financial decisions throughout your life, regardless of what the future holds.